Level 1. The Knock. It happens on a Wednesday morning. Two agents, plain clothes, no drama. They introduce themselves at your front door like they're here to read the meter. They say they have a few questions about someone you used to know, a name you haven't heard in 2 years, a person who turned up dead in a parking garage 3 weeks ago. They're not accusing you of anything. They just want to fill in some gaps. You invite them in because innocent people invite agents in. You offer them coffee. One of them takes it. You answer every question without a lawyer because you have nothing to hide, and calling a lawyer feels like admitting you have something to hide. The conversation lasts 45 minutes. When they leave, they thank you and say they may follow up. The one who took the coffee leaves his cup on your kitchen table. You stare at it for a long time after they're gone. The follow-up comes 4 days later. This time, they want to know about your phone, specifically where it was on a Tuesday night 7 weeks ago. You pull up your location history right there at the kitchen table and show them. The data puts you 2 miles from the parking garage at 11:40 p.m. You explain you were driving home from a friend's place. They write that down. They ask for the friend's name. You give it. They thank you again and leave. You call the friend that night. He hasn't heard from anyone yet. You tell him he might. He asks what's going on. You tell him it's probably nothing. You believe that when you say it. You stop believing it 3 days later when your employer calls and tells you not to come in while they work through a human resources matter related to an ongoing investigation. Your badge access gets suspended by email at 4 p.m. The email is 3 sentences long and tells you nothing. Level 2. The circle tightens. A federal grand jury subpoena arrives at your apartment on a Tuesday. Not for your testimony, for your records, bank statements, phone logs, emails going back 18 months. Your lawyer, who you finally called the day your badge access was suspended, explains that a grand jury subpoena means prosecutors are building something. It doesn't mean you're the target. It means you're close enough to the target that your records matter. She reviews what they've already collected. The picture isn't good. Your location data puts you near the scene. You had a history with the victim, a business dispute 2 years ago that ended badly enough to leave a paper trail. A witness places a car matching yours in the garage that night. None of it is enough to convict. All of it is enough to charge. Those are different thresholds, and your lawyer explains the difference in a way that makes you understand why people pay attorneys by the hour. The money starts going fast. Your lawyer's retainer is $15,000. You drain your savings and it barely covers the first month. Legal fees have a way of making every other financial problem look manageable by comparison. Your landlord sends a letter asking about the squad car parked outside your building last week. He's not threatening anything yet, but landlord letters have a specific energy when they're building towards something. Level 3. Arrested. The warrant comes 6 weeks after the first knock. Your lawyer gets the call before you do, which is the only reason the arrest happens on her terms instead of theirs. You walk into the federal building voluntarily at 9 a.m. on a Thursday with her beside you. They process you anyway. Fingerprints, photographs, a holding cell that smells like industrial cleaner, and something underneath the cleaner that the cleaner can't quite reach. You are now a defendant. The word sits on you like weather. The charges are federal. Conspiracy to commit murder, which is different from murder, but carries a sentence that makes the distinction feel academic. The evidence they present at the bail hearing is circumstantial but dense. Location data, the business dispute, the witness, a phone call made to the victim's number 3 days before his death that your lawyer says you made to try to resolve the dispute, and prosecutors say you made to arrange a meeting. Same call, 2 stories, one of them will be told to a jury. Bail is set at $750,000. Your mother remortgages the house she's owned for 31 years. Your sister puts in everything she has. It's enough. Barely. You go home with an ankle monitor that tracks your position every 30 seconds and transmits it to a monitoring center in another state. You are not to leave the county. You are not to contact any witnesses. You are not to travel by air. Your world, which used to be the size of a life, is now the size of a legal boundary drawn around a county you've lived in for 8 years. Your lawyer works the case with everything she has. She finds a second witness who places a different vehicle in the garage that night. She challenges the phone data interpretation. She files motions that don't win, but force the prosecution to show their hand earlier than they wanted to. She's good. She believes you. But 3 months before trial, the prosecution adds a piece of evidence that changes everything. Surveillance footage from a camera nobody knew existed, mounted on the side of a building half a block from the garage. Time-stamped, showing someone who moves exactly like you walking toward the entrance at 11:52 p.m. The footage is grainy. The figure is hooded. Your lawyer says it's not conclusive. She also stops telling you what she thinks the jury will do. Level 4, the run. You don't plan it. That's the honest answer, and also the thing that will never fully make sense to anyone who hasn't sat alone at 2 a.m. staring at a case file that reads like the last chapter of your life. You're not a person who runs. You've never run from anything. But the system that is supposed to find the truth has assembled a version of events that is wrong in every detail that matters and perfectly supported by every detail it can measure. You cut the monitor at 3:58 a.m. with wire cutters from your kitchen drawer. The signal loss registers at the monitoring center within minutes. You walk 4 blocks to a rideshare pickup, pay cash through a borrowed account, and reach a bus station by 4:40 a.m. You buy a ticket west with cash. You have $600, a bag packed the night before with clothes that don't look like your clothes, and a phone not registered to your name. You've watched enough of these stories to know the basics. The basics only get you so far. By 6 a.m., your name is in the system. By noon, your photo is on the internal network feeding every patrol officer, border agent, and transit cop in the country. You are not a person anymore in the way the state sees things. You are a case number and a photograph, and a set of last known behaviors a team of professionals is using to predict where you'll surface. Level 5, Hunted. The task force doesn't work the way it looks in films. There's no single agent obsessively pinning photos to a map. It's a team, methodical, working outward from everything you've ever done. They pull your credit history and flag every recurring location. They interview your mother, your sister, your lawyer, your former employer. They are building a probability map of where a person like you goes when they're scared and out of options. The map is more accurate than you'd want to know. You make it to a mid-sized city in a state you've passed through once. You find day labor through a church job board that doesn't require ID. You sleep in a weekly rental that takes cash and doesn't ask for a last name. You change your appearance in ways that feel significant and are only somewhat effective. You learn the specific internal discipline of not reacting when you hear a siren, because the instinct to look is the instinct that gets people caught. Your mother's phone is being monitored. You know this and still almost call her 4 times in the first 2 weeks. The pull toward the people who know you is the most dangerous thing about being a fugitive. Not the roadblocks, not the databases, not the cameras. The need to hear a voice that believes you. That need surfaces fugitives faster than any task force. Week 5, your photo goes national. A news segment, 2 minutes, your booking photo next to a graphic that says, "Wanted." The story gets the facts roughly right and the implication completely wrong, which is a specific kind of helplessness you have no language for. You watch it on a television in the back of a laundromat, fold your clothes, and walk out without running because running draws attention. The task force locates your general area in week 7 through a cell tower ping from a burner phone you used once to check a news site. You didn't know that was traceable. It is. They don't move immediately. They watch the area, narrow the radius. You don't know any of this is happening. You're working a loading dock 12 miles away, lifting boxes in the cold, thinking about your mother's house and what the legal fees are doing to it. Level 6, the break. Day 51. You're eating at a counter in a diner when the news on the television above the register runs a story that makes you set down your fork. A man was arrested yesterday in connection with the parking garage murder. Surveillance footage from a camera 2 blocks further than the one used against you. DNA recovered from the scene that was never disclosed in discovery because the prosecution didn't know it existed until a second sweep 3 weeks ago. The man has a history with the victim that goes deeper than yours, and a timeline that fits without requiring a single coincidence. The world doesn't stop when you're vindicated. That's the thing. The diner keeps going. The cook calls an order. Someone laughs at a table by the window. You sit there with a story unraveling on a television, and you are still a fugitive, and the coffee in front of you is getting cold. And none of the things that just changed have changed the fact that you cut a monitor and ran across state lines, and those are federal crimes regardless of why you did them. You call your lawyer from a payphone 2 blocks away. She picks up on the second ring. She already knows. She's been trying to reach you through channels that didn't work because you were unreachable by design. She tells you to come in. She says the murder charge is gone, the conspiracy charge is gone, and what remains is manageable if you surrender now rather than making them come get you. She says manageable like a doctor uses that word, which means real but survivable. You turn yourself in the next morning at a federal building in the city where you've been living under a name that isn't yours. The agents who process you are professional and impersonal in equal measure. Your lawyer meets you in the lobby. She looks tired in a way that has your name on it and doesn't say so. The flight charges resolve over 8 months. Failure to appear, interstate flight to avoid prosecution. The judge reads the record, the wrongful accusation, the suppressed evidence, the surveillance footage that put you at a scene you weren't at. He sentences you to time served plus 6 months. You'll be out before the year is done. It's not an apology. The system doesn't apologize. It occasionally produces an outcome that resembles one if you look at it from the right angle. You take it. Your mother picks you up when it's over. She drives the car you grew up in and doesn't say much on the way home. You watch the road through the passenger window and think about how ordinary everything looks. Gas stations and intersections and people going somewhere at a normal speed with no reason to look over their shoulder. You're going to have to learn how to do that again. It'll take time. Most things worth having back do. This story is fiction, but somewhere right now, someone is answering questions at their kitchen table, thinking the truth is enough to protect them. Sometimes it isn't, and by the time they find that out, the coffee is already cold.